Please, those who are online, if you can hear me clearly, please kindly drop comments by saying yes. I think it won't be a bad idea if I wait for few minutes and try to see how many people will be joining us for the sake of the lecture. Please, if you can hear me clearly, you need to signify that you can hear me clearly. Well, in the absence of members, we are to examine the concept of motivation. The concept of motivation. What do we mean by motivation? What are the various types of motivation? Please, those who are online, kindly drop the last three digits of your number. That's the attendance. That will be able to make me write down your attendance, please. If you're online, drop the last three digits. If you're in sociology, write SOC, then the last three digits. If you're in pub admin, write pub and the last three digits. Now, what do we mean by the term motivation? You know, at every point in time, we see how we can motivate people, how we can bring in various methods, ways of energizing people's behavior, of methods of enhancing people's motives, energy to do more. You may say the term motivation describes, you know, why someone does something. And we can also say that it is the driving force behind human actions. I said that you may say motivation involves asking questions like why people do certain things and what are those driving forces behind human action. So in a nutshell, you may say motivation is the process that possibly initiates, guides, and at the same time maintains goal oriented behaviors. It initiates, it guides, and at the same time it maintains what? Goal oriented behaviors. For example, if you're a bit fat and you want to lose weight, there are factors or there are certain things you must engage yourselves in that will motivate you for weight reduction. And those driving forces will definitely you know cause you to act in such a way that it gets you closer to achieving the number of kilogram you wish to have. For example, you weigh about 100 kg, and all of a sudden you feel okay, this is not appropriate. What are the various things I can do, or what are the various things I should do? How do I do them? How often? What are the things that are required, you know, to do these things? Then you begin to go to the field. You begin to hit the gym on a daily basis. This is because you wish to achieve certain goals, and there are forces that will energize your behavior. There are certain things that will initiate your actions, and there are also certain things that will guide your actions. For instance, you will be like, once it's 8 p.m., I'm not going to eat anything. Once it's 7 p.m., I'm not going to eat anything. There are guidelines. And how do you now maintain all these goal oriented behaviors? You need to energize those your driving force. You know, you also need to put in guidelines to achieve those goals. You know, motivation involves various factors that directs and also maintain goal oriented actions. Although such, motives are in some instances rarely or directly observable. But as a result of this, we must often have the reasons to ask questions like, why do people do the things that they do based on observable behaviors? There are various types of motivation. Let me just say in the nutshell, motivation implies the forces that energizes our behavior. Those forces, driving forces that initiates, guides, and maintain goal oriented behaviors. We have various types of motivation, and also the concept of motivation or the definition of motivation itself varies based on different textbooks, you know, based on different assumptions of various scholars of social psychology. Motivation is the reason for humans, and other animals to continue to initiate, terminate a behavior at a given time. The concept of motivation is wide, and it is commonly defined, you know, in terms of internal factors or internal forces. That is, let me say these factors are very difficult, to measure. It is always very difficult to measure them. And most of these factors are empirically minded, because theorists often try to proffer solutions, that are more closely linked to observable behavior. The concept of motivation has great impact on mental states. When I say mental state, don't forget the general field of psychology itself is the study of the mind and mental processes. But social psychology is the study of how the presence of other people in our various lives, how it influences, guides our other behaviors. Behaviorists over the years have tried to uh, explain the concept of motivation solely in terms of the relation between situations and external observable behavior. But the same, entity often behaves differently because, despite being in the same situation with others, motivational factors have different impacts on various, mental health. And it is very important that, you know, we motivate people, we try to energize people's behavior, we try to make people behave better There is always incentive for good motivational factors. Sorry, there is a great implication on the human mind when people are motivated. It's just like you working somewhere. You are paid well. At the end of the year, you have certain incentives that you get from your employer as an employee. These are basic things, or you have allowances or wages that further, increase your sense of belonging to such organization. This will serve as a driving force for you to do more, for you to act more. You know, so one of the problems we face in the world today is because people, in most instances, especially in developing countries, are not really motivated the way the way they should. We have two types of motivation. One is extrinsic motivation. When we say extrinsic motivation, extrinsic, this is a type of motivation that arise from outside the individual, and it's, in most situations, involves external forces or rewards. Let me say, for example, trophies. You play football, you are able to win a trophy. Monetary gain, like recently, the way the Super Falcons of Nigeria are to be paid some amount of bonuses or allowance. Even at times, social recognition. If you look at these ladies that just dropped out of the, that just came back from the World Cup, they tried their luck. In fact, most people weren't watching them initially, but the news was everywhere. They were progressing gradually. Then people began to show some sense of belonging by watching them. They are to earn some amount of millions. Then we have raised, we have, let me say, we have been able to sing some amount of praises on them because they were motivated by external factors. At individual level, they were motivated because the first thing they did was to play for Nigeria as their own fatherland. Therefore, the support Nigerians gave to them is also one form of motivation. It's just like you are playing football in a pitch and your supporters and fans keep, motivating you, singing praises, telling you you can do better, telling you can do more. There is no way you will not be motivated. So that factor alone is an energizing factor, that increases people's level of motivation. So extrinsic extrinsic motivation arises from, the outside of individuals. It is that type of motivation that is shaped by external factors. Then the second type of motivation is what we call uh, intrinsic motivation. At the mention of the word intrinsic motivation, you try to, understand that this is a type of motivation that is shaped internally, and it arises within the individual. It is you that will motivate yourself. It is you that will tell yourself what you want to become. It is you that will need to tell yourself, this is how I'm going to achieve this. And these are the various motivational factors that is going to enhance my performance as someone who wants to achieve a goal. Don't forget that some few minutes ago, I said motivation involves, initiating, guiding, and at the same time, various methods of achieving goal-oriented desires. So, the difference between extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation is just simple. Extrinsic motivation is guided, by external forces, while intrinsic motivation is guided by internal, forces. So, but over the years, there have been debates over a third type of motivation, and some researchers have suggest that there is a third type of motivation, which is called family motivation. An example of this type is to work when, You are not motivated to do so internally. So automatically there is no intrinsic. You are not motivated even within you. The concept of motivation starts from within. You yourself must be able to motivate yourself. You must be able to identify the basic things you want to achieve. You need to let the world know this is what you intend to do, and these are the various processes, you know of achieving these goals. So in the third type of motivation, there is no internal form of motivation, because it means for instance, let's say you are supporting your family financially. It is a duty that you owe them. You must, at every point in time, show them that sense of belonging. You must be able to, let people see reasons you should be motivated. Now, why is motivation so important? We have said it that it involves the forces that energizes our behavior. It involves, goal-oriented behaviors. It involves various methods and ways of achieving our goals. Why is the study of motivation important? One, it increases your, let me say, your efficiency to work towards your goal. In whatever goal you have been able to set as individual, you must make sure that the level of efficiency and effectiveness of achieving those goals are met. It is very important and crucial that in our various lives, you must be able to achieve your goal. The Let me say, goal achievement is one of the basic things you can do to yourselves. You getting to the peak of whatever you are doing is one of the greatest achievements of life. Then the study of motivation is also important because it drives you to take action towards events of life. It drives you to take actions towards events of life. After you have been able to set your goals, those forces that will energize your behavior must be present. You must be able, to convince yourself on the need that you need to do more, on the need that you need to do better. The study of motivation also, encourage you to engage in goal-oriented behaviors. If you don't set your goals well, you may not be able to achieve certain things in life. So it is very important that you set your goals well. It's the study of motivation also makes us feel like we are in control of our lives. When you set goals, you need targets, and those targets must be met. So when you set your goals, it motivates you to take control, or you take charge of your own life. Like people have always said, that your destiny is in your hands. So therefore, you should try to make sure you keep your destiny in a safe place between the two hands, and try not to feed with your destiny. It also improves our overall well-being and happiness. When you find out that you have been able to achieve a lot, what do? You begin to smile. You get happy with yourselves, and you try as much as possible to see how far you can go with life. Then there are three major components of motivation. The components of motivation is just three. And for instance, I cited an example initially of someone who, let's say you want to lose 20 pounds or run a marathon. Then you probably already know that simply having the desire to accomplish these things is not in any way enough. Then you must be able to persist. It becomes a persistent and consistent act. You even after obstacles, hindrances, you continue to have endurance to keep it going, irrespective of the difficulties you must have encountered. So these different elements or components are needed to get motivated. Researchers have identified three major components of motivation, and one is activation, two is persistence, and three is intensity. I said three major components of motivation. One is action, two is persistence, and three, you know, is intensity. Activation being the number one component of motivation. It is the decision to initiate behavior. Once you take that decision to initiate a particular behavior, you have been able to activate it. Then an example will be something like you want to score an A in social psychology. The first form of activation you need to do is you know that you need to set the goals and targets of reading to meet up with basic requirements. That simply implies that you have been able to take action. You have been able to activate those forces that will energize your behavior. Two, persistence. Persistence. Persistence is a word we often use in our various lives, like daily lives. On an in our various lives, we all understand the concept of being persistent about goal oriented behaviors. When you say persistence, you are talking about a continued effort, towards a goal. Even though obstacles may exist, you continue to persist, you continue to try out to see how far you can go. Persistence. You must be very persistent, because being persistent is one of the various components of motivation that will make you grow, grow better. So even though obstacles exist, difficulties exist, or you encounter a lot of problems in the course of taking action, you continue to to move on. Then the third component is intensity. To intensify, it is more or less a kind of vigorous and a vigorous concentration that you invest into pursuing a particular goal. When I say vigorous, effort on concentration, it means after you've been persistent, you don't need to get tired. You continue to move and move and move and move and move until your goals, are achieved. So it is not very important to note that the degree of each of these components of motivation can impact on you greatly, and it's either you are able to achieve the goal or you are unable to achieve the goal. So you need a very strong activation even outside the four walls of our various universities. I can assure you that in whatever you find yourself doing, you should be able to activate, your goals. You should be able to be persistent in achieving your goals. And at the same time, you should always intensify efforts. You subject yourself to vigorous, acts that will make your goals achievable. There are various tips or various ways of improving our motivation. Everybody in life over the years have experienced fluctuations in their lives. Things don't get well for everybody at every time. People don't look good at every time because of one or two reasons. So based on these certain experiences, it is sometimes very important that we teach students on various tips that can enhance their motivational factors. If you feel low on motivation, for example, there are various steps that you can take, and these steps are going to increase your drive. There are certain things you can do, to develop or improve your motivation. And some of these things you can do include: one, adjust your goals to focus on things that really adjust your goals in such a way that it will be those goals that will focus on, concentrate on things that are essential and useful to our various lives. Focusing on things that you do is highly very important because this will make you a better person, and this will as well push you through various challenges of life. And it is also very, important to note that when you lose focus and you don't concentrate well, there is higher possibility that your goals are not going to be achieved. Two, improve your confidence. You need to improve your confidence no matter what the situation is. In as much as you have been able to adjust your goals to what you know suits or what fits into your achievements in life, you should be able to improve your confidence. Researches over the years suggest that there is a great connection between confidence and motivation. There is a great confidence between motivation, you know, and confidence. Please, class, those who have one or two questions to ask, you may drop your questions in the comment section so that as I continue to explain, I also try as much as possible to answer your questions. I have been able to define the concept of motivation. I've also been able to examine the types. I've also been able to examine the various components, which are just three. One, we said motivation refers to those forces that energize our behavior. And we said there are two types, and over the years they've added the third type. One is extrinsic motivation, the one that is shaped by external factor. The other is two, intrinsic motivation, the one that is shaped by internal factors and possibly family motivation. There are, however, three components of motivation. One is activation, two is persistence, and three is intensity. Now, we are talking about tips that can enhance motivation. And I said, one, you need to adjust your goals in such a way that it focuses on things that really matters to you. Two, you need to improve your confidence because there is a great connection between confidence and motivation. It is confidence that will let me say make you a better person. Then three, you need to remind yourself about what you have achieved in the past and where your strength lies. In the course of adjusting your goals, in the course of improving your confidence, you need to always examine how far you have gone. Then there are people who have low motivation, and there are also various factors responsible for low motivation. It is because in recent times, people no longer concentrate. Please, as soon as I end this class, the number of attendance I have online is what I'm going to work with. We tried as much as possible to wait for so many persons to come online by sparing you guys a whole lot of minutes. So it is very important that the moment we end this class, those who have the attendance are the ones that are to be graded for. Now, we have theories of motivation. And when we say theories, theories of motivation, theories simply refers to set of ideas that are used in explaining something, or let me say set of propositions, set of ideas, set of postulations that are used in explaining something. You know, in as much as the concept of motivation involves drives and needs, we should be able to explain these concepts from various, various angles. There are, number one is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory. I've said it that the concept of theory involves ideas, perspectives, postulations that are used in explaining something. So, one of the various theories of motivation that we are going to look at is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory. And when we say Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory, we are talking about the content theory of human behavior. And it's under content theory of human behavior, we have that of Abraham Maslow's, and we have that of Esbeck's. Those are the two major content theory of human motivation. Abraham Maslow's postulation is based on the idea that we are driven by our basic human needs. Abraham Maslow said that every human have basic needs, and these needs must be met. Do not forget, in defining the concept of economics as a field, economics as a field can simply be defined as a social science that studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which has alternative uses. And what if you now look at needs, wants, what does it imply? Needs. There are basic needs humans, must be able to meet on a daily basis. And Abraham Maslow's theory is one of the major theories of motivation everywhere in the world. Therefore, it is very important you note that his theory simply is based on human needs. On what? Human needs. Human needs, because we need certain things to survive. We need to do a lot of things to be able to achieve our goals. We must be able to put a lot of things into action before we'll be able to meet our basic needs. Abraham Maslow's theory is best described in pyramids. We call it Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory, and it was developed between the year 1943 and 1954, and it is always represented as a pyramid with more basic needs at the bottom. Number one, we have self-actualization needs, we have self-esteem needs, we have love/belonging needs, we have safety needs, and we have physiological needs. For instance, you take it that the basic requirement is built upon the first step in the pyramid, which is the physiological need. Physiological need. When you say physiological need, you are talking about stuff like hunger. You are talking about hunger. You are talking about thirst. You are talking about sleep. Then it comes to safety needs. Safety needs include security, shelter, health, and some other things. We also have social stroke. We have self-belonging needs. We have self-belonging, love, belonging needs, as the case may be. This we may be talking about social love. We may be talking about friendship under this type of need, and we have self-esteem needs. Esteem needs. You need to show people that you are a member of the society. This includes recognition, achievement, and some other stuff. Then we also have self-actualization needs. Self-actualization needs involves achievement in full potential. When we say achievement in full potential, we are talking about you getting to the peak of your career. Don't forget, in the process of defining motivation, we said you need to gradually set your goals in such a way that you in turn achieve those goals, right? You achieve those goals in the meantime. If you now look at Abraham Maslow's pyramid, self-actualization need is at the top. It is because this is an achievement of full potential. Achievement of full potential, because you must have been able to get to the peak of your career. You must have been able to explore and explore all the various means of achieving your goals. So you must have it at the back of your mind that basic requirements are built upon the first step in the pyramid, which is physiology. and it involves stuff like hunger tests, sleep, and some other stuff. So if there are deficits in this level or on this level, I'm talking about physiological, all behavior would be oriented to satisfy this deficit, because hunger test, you must eat, you must be able to feed yourself, you must have where to lay your eggs. It is very important. Then essentially, if you don't sleep well, or if you have not eaten adequately, it is very dangerous, because somebody who has not been able to meet up with physiological needs may not be necessarily concerned about self-esteem needs. So it is, Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory can therefore be summarized as follows. One, human beings have wants and desires which, if unsatisfied, may influence behavior. Please get this right. Humans, let me say human beings generally, will all have our wants, which is needs and desires, which, if we fail to satisfy, may affect our total or general behavior. That is one. Two, different levels of importance to human life are reflected in hierarchical structure of needs. When we say hierarchy, we are talking about listing or spelling out things on the basis of how important they are. Three, needs at higher levels in hierarchy are held in abeyance until lower needs at least are minimally satisfied. If you look at it, for instance, physiological need is the least of the theories, but it is one of the most important. This is where food, energy, shelter, and some other things are, are listed. So if you now fail to meet up with those needs from the preliminary level, it may in turn affect the needs at higher level. Now, lastly, needs at higher levels of hierarchy are associated with individuality. At preliminary level, it is not individualism, it is collectivism, because some persons will be involved in achieving those goals. But at higher level of the hierarchy, all needs, all wants, all desires, are at individual level. Nobody cares, or nobody. So the second theory is Hesberg's two-factor theory. Hesberg two-factor theory. Don't forget, I said content theory of motivation are just two: Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory and Hesberg two-factor theory. If you look at Hesberg two-factor theory, the theory concludes that certain factors in the workplace result in job satisfaction. Certain what factors at workplace does what affects workplace results, because if you are satisfied doing your job, you will be motivated. While others, there are two components here. One is what we call motivators, while others are what we call hygiene factors. If motivators and the hygiene factors are absent, this will definitely lead to dissatisfaction, but they may not be related to satisfaction. The name hygiene factors are always used, because like hygiene, the presence may not improve your health, but absence can cause health deterioration. So the factors that motivate people can cause change over their lifetime. Some also have claimed that satisfiers, or let me say achievers or achievement recognition, work itself, responsibility, advancement, and growth may not necessarily be present. So it is very important to always take cognizance of these two theories of motivation. These two theories of motivation can be categorized under content theory of motivation. There is also what we call self-determination theory. As the name implies, self-motivation. You need to motivate yourselves at every point in time. You shouldn't wait for people to motivate you before you get things done. Self-determination theory is an approach of motivation an approach of motivation, or let me say an approach to human motivation, that it uses let me say traditional empirical methods. When I said traditional empirical methods, we are talking about traditional methods that were a bit scientific. Traditional empirical methods, while let me say employing an organismic, meta theory that highlights the importance of humans as they evolve in inner resources for, let me say, personality development and behavioral regulation. If you look at this theory very well, it centers on personality development. And what exactly do we mean by personality? We are talking about those distinguishing factors, those, characteristics, those features that differentiates you from me, that differentiates you and I. So it's this theory takes a look into people's psychological needs. This has to do with psychology. And don't forget the subject matter of this field itself is how the presence of others in our various lives influence our behavior. How, the presence of others in our lives shape or, change our thoughts. Under this self-determination theory, it is very important to take cognizance of psychological factors. Psychological factors are very important. They are very, very important because it is very important. And psychology itself is a scientific study of the human mind and mental processes. So this self-determination theory critically looks at inner resources for personality development and behavioral self-regulation. There are processes of developing one's personality. One of the various processes is the concept of socialization. The concept of socialization is very essential to those in the field of sociology. What do we mean by socialization? We are talking about the various, ways or the various processes of transforming from a biological organism into a social organism. If you now talk of personality development has great correlation, with the concept of socialization, because the concept of socialization involves various individuals adopting, learning the various ways of behaving in the society, or the various methods of working in accordance with the norms and values of the society. And the moment you are able to, respect these norms, you begin to realize that you are learning, your personality is changing, you are resocializing, you are dropping various attitudes, various habits that does not correspond with norms and values of the society. So it is very important to take note of the presence of personality development once you talk about self-determination theory. This theory is simply talking about, importance of inner resources to personality development and behavioral change. The social environment, class, anywhere you see the word social, we are talking about society. There is nothing, nowhere, anywhere you see the word social, we are making reference to the society at large. So the social environment with, let me say, the correct amount of support can help fulfill psychological needs. There must be social support in our various lives. Let me say, for instance, um, let's use Eclipse Lounge as an example. They have staff, they work with them, they get them motivated, they do a lot of things that enhance their sense of belonging. They use their inner resources, to support their staff. They provide accommodation, they give them better salary, they give them fair judgment, they do what is needed at the appropriate time. Therefore, you will find out that those acts of motivational factors will always energize their staff's behavior. The staff may, from time to time, try as much as possible. If some of you know where I call Eclipse Lounge, or Eclipse restaurant. It's somewhere around Mega Screen. There is Eclipse apartment, there is Eclipse restaurant and bar. So they have staffs that they get motivated from time to time. There is no way you get motivated and at the same time this will not enhance your level of productivity. What gets workers, what makes workers work well is their level of, motivation. When you motivate workers, it increases their level of productivity. But in some instances, this is Africa, you may have certain workers that no matter what you do for them, they will never be satisfied. These are certain persons that, whether you like it or not, even if you use your entire inner resources, it will not in any way, affect their psychology. So it is very important to take cognizance of the fact that social, social social environment contributes more, to how people work. Now, these basic needs that we are talking about, these inner resources we are talking about, their needs are autonomy or autonomous. We need to talk about issues like competence and relatedness. It is also very important to know that these basic needs are very important. An average human needs basic needs. So the basic needs are very important. There are two types of motivation that can be found in self-determination theory, and they are called a motivation. One, I said there are two types of motivation that can be found in self-determination theory. One, a motivation and autonomous motivation. A motivation is just a then motivation. Then the second one is autonomous motivation. These types of motivations can lead to intrinsic and extrinsic actions. Don't forget, I said earlier on that we have types of motivation, and one of the various types of motivation is extrinsic, the one that is shaped by external factor, and the second is intrinsic, the one that is shaped by internal factors. So a motivation can derive, let me say, can be derived from stuffs like feelings, feelings of let me say inadequacy, which leads to having a lack of motivation. The person or the person feels possibly that let me say the social environment is controlled through monitoring and rewards. The person feels that you are only motivated because of external rewards or to avoid punishment. On the other hand, autonomous motivation comes from the person's own lifestyle. It comes from your own lifestyle because you engage in tasks that are done innately within you. So, class, in a nutshell, having a very supportive environment can bring out behaviors from autonomous. Then, under self-determination theory, you can make reference to let me say classical and operant conditioning, one by Ivan Pavlov and one by B.F. Skinner. So, class, please, I've been asking for people to drop questions. I haven't seen people dropping questions. The only thing I see people dropping is red number because you want to get marks. Ask questions. Let me know whether you understand all I've taught or you do not. Please, I'm waiting for questions, please.